e eu
believe
tô
that
aqui
Black Lives
num
Matter.
evento no
We
Festa
do
Royale
believe
com
in
meu
racial
amigo
equality,
Causeira.
economic equality, judicial equality,
That's right.
right?
A
E aí,
gente tá
galera?
vendo
As human
o
beings.
evento aqui do
And if the
racismo
people
que tá
in your
tendo no
community don't
Fortnite.
feel that way, vote them out. It's that simple. It's just vote them out. We don't have enough time
Ruivo
to sit around and hope
demorado.
that people change their
Mano,
mind.
mano, a
Yeah, Bubby, you
banana,
point out
mano, a
something so
banana.
important.
A,
We have
a
the
banana
power.
mais de
And
boa
that is in
lá.
our vote, and that is with our voice, and that's
Ô,
how we
Rango,
use
ô,
our
Mano,
Rango.
voice.
default na
I
minha
think
frente.
of
Sai
where we
daqui,
are
ô
right now.
corno.
People say this is a
Ô,
particular
Rango, a
moment, but it
banana
is a
lá na
movement.
frente.
Not just a
Eu
movement,
vi.
it is a movement. Why, in
Banana mais
your
de
opinion,
boa.
was
Rango, esse é o
it
miau do seu lado.
George
O
Floyd's
miau.
death? Why was that the
Mano,
chosen brutality for people to say, oh my God, black
Queria ter
people
essa
are so
casa que ela
oppressed in
tem,
this
hein?
country? And it is not fair.
Pô, casa é mó
I think it's
rica.
twofold, Carrie. And so many
Rango,
different encounters
travei.
between people
Rango,
of color and the
travei.
police, there simply is
Parabéns.
no proof of what happened in the
Rango,
interaction.
travei.
And so what
Você
happens
não
is in a
consegue se
court of
mexer ao
law,
mesmo comigo que
it
que
tends
tá
to lean
acontecendo.
towards the policeman's point of view, right? In this case, we saw very clearly
Rango.
what happened. I think the other thing is due to the fact that everyone was at home, basically during this time period in relation to the coronavirus, you couldn't avoid it, right? It was on every television station, it was on every social media platform. Everywhere you turn, you were constantly hit upside the head with this message. You see in the interaction that this man did nothing to deserve what happened.
That's right. That's so well said, because if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't worth it, and he didn't have to lose his life. I think that you touched on something that a lot of people
Causeira.
talk about, and that is now defunding the police. That has been such a huge conversation, but there's so many misconceptions around defunding and dismantling. If you will, educate the audience.
All right, so most people, when they hear the term defund the police, they tend to think of, oh, they're going to take away our police department. Nothing could be further from the point. Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget, right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situations in certain communities with a higher crime rate, well, higher crime rates tend to happen in communities where there's not employment opportunities, right? There's not a lot of social services, and people are going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. When the community has more opportunities for employment, more opportunities for upward mobility, then they tend to be less of a strain on the government. They tend to have a lower crime rate, and because of that, we'll have less need for the police in those communities.
You are passionate about so many different things in terms of making sure that we are holding our leaders accountable. Talk to me about some of the other projects that you're working on.
Well, right now, obviously, being a part of More Than a Vote is essential. We're dealing with primaries in this country right now, and we just want to educate people. We want to inform people because people are tired, they're angry, they're concerned, and they want information and they want action. And so we want to make sure that we give them the right information and lead them in the right direction. And we thank the people that do not look like us for standing with us right now, because it's very important that people who aren't black be involved, because if black people could have gotten rid of racism, we would have done it hundreds of years ago. And so I'm trying to use my voice and my platform just to let people know that if they feel like I do, there's a number of places they can go to enact change in their community. People need to know about how their city council runs. They need to know that they have the ability to speak when city council meets, to let them know that that's not the way that they feel their city needs to be run. Those are not the places that they feel the money of their community needs to be allocated.
And Bubby, even a step further, they can run for office in their local community. They can run for positions. Like, people act like they leave it up to somebody else. If you're upset, it's not hard to get on the school board. It's not hard to be a part of the city council. It really isn't. And depending on how small your town is, you could be a mayor. It's the power is with the people, and we need to just know that that's happening.
Absolutely. And it's always been with the people. You know, if you look at Trayvon Martin's mother, Sabrina Fulton, right? She felt that there was a system of racism and a system of oppression that led to her son's death. And so what did she do? She ran for city council, and she was elected to city council. Our own former president, 44, Barack Obama, right, started in the community as an activist, ran for an elected position, became senator, ran for another elected position, and became president of the United States. So don't think that you can't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of power. Your voice is enough to make a difference.
Amen. I feel like I need to go out and run for something. You gave me a rousing speech there, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. When I talk to
Peraí, deixa eu entrar aqui no grupo
my
do
brothers, I
menino.
have to ask you, as a black man, how are you doing? Are you okay?
I'm good. I'm good. I have a very strong relationship with God, so prayer definitely works for me. I have children and grandchildren who are watching me, who are encouraged by what I do, and they're proud of me right now, and that's really what matters, The change starts at home, so as long as you have a support system that believes in what you're doing and supports you in what you're doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of people here to help you. So you can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are many different places that will encourage you, inform you, and they will put you with groups of people that feel like you, that are ready to take action. So no one has to go about this alone if they want to do it.
Yeah, yeah. We're stronger together. People have been saying it, but that has much more meaning now that we are in our movement, not just this moment. Bumby, it has been an education, always a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Keep fighting the good fight.
Keep up the good fight.
Yeah, la la.
So our next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan, but there are so many different people that we could talk to, and I thought it was so imperative that we speak with her. You know her as Molly on the huge, successful show Insecure, HBO's Insecure. She also has a comedy special highlighting her Nigerian roots, and she's an amazing podcaster. Let's welcome in Yvonne Orji, everyone. You have such a beautiful way of making things funny, giving us our medicine with some candy, right? The humor and the
Yes.
healing. You bring all of that to your space. And right now, as you look across this country and how everyone is so broken and so upset, if it's not social injustice, it's the pandemic, it's depression, it's unemployment, the list goes on and on. How are you doing, quite frankly?
I am I'm rediscovering self in a way I that is hard but necessary, that will lead to ultimate joy. I know it sounds like a lot, but no, I think I personally think that God put all of us on a global timeout. Like we just, America hasn't done as good as other people when it comes to timeouts because everyone else is out playing at recess, and we're still in the principal's office hoping and wishing we can come out. But I think that if we settle into the timeout and really learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this season, I think we'll emerge better. We'll learn how to play well with others in more ways than one. And so personally for me, I'm taking this time to learn me in a new way. I feel like I'm being ushered into a new season, and I'm getting still, because sometimes the busy uh, confounds the work that we're supposed to actually be doing. We're busy doing other stuff, but we got work that we need to do on the inside. And I'm leaning into it. I'm like, dang, I thought I was gonna be able to rest like everybody else. And God's like, nah, we got work to do.
You know what? And I think that's what everybody is saying about 2020. It's demanding that we be better. And you said it's a global timeout. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's like everyone sit down, be humble, to quote the great prophet Kendrick Lamar. Uh, but like, no, seriously, sit down and let's reevaluate some things. Let us unearth and shake up the things that we have been trying to hide within ourselves, within our nation. I think America is going through an unraveling right now, a much needed, a much necessary one. And I think all eyes on us, right? There is no, oh, I was on the subway for an hour, so I didn't miss that thing that happened. No, everybody was home. Everybody, was watching when George Floyd died, and everybody, no one could hide it. Everyone was watching when Amy Cooper called the cops. Like, this is a time where it's like, oh, we can't pretend it away. We can't excuse it away. No, 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 no. It's a global timeout. Sit down, watch, and let's learn. And globally, it's like, hey, we were going business as usual, but it ain't usual no more. Like that's old. Anytime change occurs, it's very uncomfortable. And so right now we're sitting with we're getting we're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
The minorities, we've been comfortable with being uncomfortable because that to me explains just the existence for whatever we want to do, how we break into our careers, how we live our lives, how we find ourselves one of the few or one of the first. And that's a lonely road. When you look at and when you talk about this global timeout, everybody had to pay attention to Amy Cooper, everyone had to pay attention to George Floyd. How is that helping us as a people, as a country during our global timeout?
I think, well, one, we're not minorities, Carrie. You already know it. It's like these labels that they put on us.
Yeah.
It's like the same way of saying like black on black violence. Also, there's no white on white violence. It's branding,
Yeah,
right?
great.
It's all
Yeah,
branding.
you're right. You're
It's
right.
like white people kill white people every single day. So no, there is no black on black violence. And if you say black on black violence, well then let's brand white on white violence. Like I watch
Okay.
Investigation Discovery. Ain't too many of us being featured. so, I just even like, but to answer your question, what does that do? I think what everyone expected is what has happened in the past when the world was still open, right? In that, okay, you had everyone from Trayvon Martin to Castillo to Sandra Bland. You had all of these lives lost, and black people made some noise. We rioted, we got out in the streets, we started the Black Lives Matter movement, all of those things. And then white people kind of just like, oh, let's give them something, and then it's just like, is it over? It's like Oscar is so black. Okay, okay, good. We gave some Oscars. Are we good now? Like, are we even?
Hmm.
And it's now it's just
Hmm.
like, oh no 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 no. This is not about like a band-aid. It's like, yo, we might have to amputate the leg a little bit, but it's all right because we're gonna by amputating the leg, we're gonna save the body. And so I think that's what's happening now. Like America is realizing like, oh, black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like the protests are still out, the conversations are still being had, the change is still being demanded, and I think they're seeing, oh, this is not going away, and no, it's not because we need systematic change.
What a beautiful way to explore what is happening and describe our country. We might have to amputate the leg, but that's to save the body. That's what's happening right now. That's beautiful, Yvonne. And to that end, I have to ask you this because the way that we do that, we use our voice. And our voice right now in this world, in this country, is our vote. And everyone talks about voting and how important it is, but I feel like more than ever we understand that it's not just about voting every 4 years for the man in office. It's about your local elections. It's about the mayor. It is about the district attorney, the people who have the power to bring charges against police if police brutality is an issue in your community. If you care about your school district, you can run for the school board. I ask this of you, right? Your parents are from Nigeria. You are Nigerian. You talk about that very lovingly. What does voting mean for you?
I think voting is power. I remember, I became a naturalized citizen back in the 90s when, because I was still a minor, my mom naturalized, and so we were able to do it under her. And just even that power of like, we're American citizens and all the access that we have by being citizens, one of those accesses and those access to power being voting, it's a big deal. It's a big deal because not only are we do we have the opportunity to be in this country, but now we can be of the country. We can be of the systems. We can be of the rules. We can be of what it actually affords. But I think going back to your earlier comment about just the setup of systems, I think we are done a disservice. Either it's schools or whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think teachers do a phenomenal job, but for some reason, we do not, and give them all the raises. I know too many parents who are like, I might, this child of mine, I do love them, but hey, who, where can I drop them off? And I do think that there's a disservice done because, again, when we talk about them, to your point, we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the presidency. We don't realize, like, oh, snap, we actually can vote about, like, how much our libraries get. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like for you?
It's the systems. When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up, and we've normalized. Okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe you'll be able to get this luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how we vote. But maybe you'll be able to get this luxury in order to enable you to go vote. Think about everything disenfranchised, marginalized black person has to endure in a day. So in a day, you need to get to work. If something happens to your car, if something happens to your child care, if something happens to, there's so many factors along the way that can send you into a tailspin as an American. And then you add on as a person of color. If you're just trying to get to vote and you already have to go through all of these hurdles and hoops in your everyday life, imagine the one day when your voice really is supposed to matter the most in this country. But then you also see all the times that you tried to have your voice matter, and then it's been shut down, repressed, told it doesn't matter. And then you're kind of like, what's the point?
How do we keep hope though? If I'm watching this right now, I want to I how do we as a people stay hopeful? How do we believe in the promise that these quote unquote forefathers have given us?
Because have you met black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like you know what I'm saying? Like by like if we haven't been broken now through, be it through
You're right.
slavery, through
Give
capitalism,
it to me.
through
Give it to me.
colonization, through
Yeah,
segregation,
you're right.
through I mean, listen, the history of black people in this country is at one point we were 3/5 people. That's it.
At one
That was a written law. And look at us now. We are whole. We are black girl magic. We are black boy joy. We are, you know what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people
Ben.
nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way, and these jokers are resilient. But that should give us hope. That should give us hope that like we can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I went to the school of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag, Harlem shaking it right now. Can't stop, won't stop. And I think that's our motto. We can't stop voting and we won't stop voting. We can't stop marching and we won't stop marching. We can't stop thriving and we won't stop thriving.
To that end, because you led me directly there, I've been asking everyone who's appeared on this platform, what does activism look like? And I feel like back in the day, we had an idea. Yes, it is marching. Yes,
Yeah.
it is protesting. Yes, it is speaking out against things that we feel are not right or unjust. But talk to me about what activism looks like for Yvonne Orji.
Listen, activism, I think the beauty of activism is that it has many faces, right? You're going to have the people on the front lines. Like, you know what? Martin Luther King marched, but there were a lot of women who were in the homes like, hey, BT Dubs, when they come back, this is how we support all the people who are marching on the front lines. And we're going to be here doing what we know to do best here. And you know what? Somebody needs to bail them out of jail so now we need to be in the community, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a
Gente, eu
position
acho que
to play,
amanhã
but to
vai
play your position like
sair
a shortstop, bro.
live de
So
Call of
whoever you
Duty.
are and whatever you do, play your position. So activism could look like, you know what? I'm not the one that's built to be on the front line, but you know what? My pocketbook do.
Amanhã às
So I will
15,
support the people on the
talvez,
front line.
pode sair a
I'm a
live de Call
comedian.
of
Black,
Duty.
Black joy is a form of activism.
There's always a
Ou
call for
vídeo mesmo.
entertainers or celebrities that have the platform to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can be an activist and be activated in different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world and how you feel like it even inspires you to say more and use your platform to do more.
Beneath the surface of what we do, like Niecy Nash says, it's the who, right? The who is the person who's going to be like, hey, let me call this out. Either blind racism in terms of overt racism, in terms of ways that we can be better, in terms of ways that we can actually be more uplifting to the community that you may not even realize that you're serving.
Before I let you go, talk to me about the urgency, in your opinion, for people to vote, our people to get out and vote this coming election.
Yeah, I mean, guys, 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 if you think you're tired now, I'm telling you right now, we cannot take this sitting down. We can't take this jokingly. I understand that it may be hard to figure out who to vote for, but at the end of the day, we got to vote for our families. We got to vote for our legacies. We got to vote for continued progress. We have to vote for upward mobility. We have to vote for equality in a way that is long lasting. And if we succeeded before, we can do it again. We talk about the whole. This is the time. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to pretend a way that we haven't made progress. We have. There's still much more to be done. And you know what? We might have to get to a point where we pass the baton to our children and our children's children, but we still have
Ou
work to do
também
now in
se
that
a
generation.
live de Call of
Come on, G.
Duty não sair
You are
amanhã,
everything. You are
sai
Molly,
depois
but you are not Molly.
que
But I love you
eu
so
terminar
much. I
essa
love you
live
as
aqui
HBO's Insecure. You are
do
an
canal
amazing
pra
podcaster. Jesus and
depois que
Chihuahua.
terminar o
Shout out to Leopard.
evento, pode
And
ser que
then we
saia
also
a
have
live de Call of
movies. Like
Duty.
you, the world. You're a model, a cover model. Also, wait, don't let me forget your hugely successful stand-up comedy special on HBO. Girl, I mean, you're doing it all, and I am so grateful. You're truly the dream, not just the American dream. You're the black girl, brown girl, do it all dream, the immigrant dream, everything. You're a beautiful, beautiful soul. I really, really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Yvonne Orgy, ladies and gentlemen, nothing but the best and excellence personified. Thank you so much, my friend.
I love you so much, Mama. Mwah.
Yeah, la la.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in terms of political unrest and social injustice. We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've also seen so much come from that city, including one of our very own founding fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used his platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now on We the People. Russ, I'm not going to fan out and
O que aconteceu? Acabou, será? Acho que acabou, pelo menos. Acabou. Bom, gente, esse foi o vídeo. Espero que tenham gostado. Se gostou, deixa o like, se inscreve no canal e ative o sininho de notificações para estar recebendo todos os vídeos aí. E eu vou nessa e tchau, tchau.